Alright, this web page that I'm showing you right now has an MP4 video used as a background image, and we've got two links here, one that shows the form, one that hides the form, and as you can see the MP4 is running in the background. There's the show form again, hide form, show form, hide form. In this form we're using checkboxes. We've got three field sets, and these are the legends for each of the field set. You've got a field set for January. Legend is January 2019. You've got a field set for February. The legend is February 2019. You've got a field set for March. And of course, the legend is March 2019 for that one. For each month, inside each of these field sets, we've got 10 checkboxes for various bills that you'd go through in the course of a month. When you click the checkbox, you see that the label for the checkbox has a line background and a strike through. And if you text some stuff in here, it doesn't matter if it's numbers, letters, or even symbols, because I don't have validation to stop you from using any of those things. All of that will be good information. Now, if you click the save button, it turns red for 2 seconds and then it turns blue. What that's doing is we have a save function that turns it red and saves it to local storage. Then we have a blue function that's a load function that retrieves it from browser's local storage and turns it blue. If you refresh the page, you see that you still have your information saved. If I close out of it completely and then go back on another day, the information is still there in that particular browser's local storage. Now, if you want to remove it, you hit the remove all button and you get an alert, or actually a confirm box that asks you, are you sure? It gives you two options, an OK and a cancel. If you click cancel, you get an alert dialog that only gives you one option to click, and that's OK to make the pop-up go away. And it gives you the information that says you don't want to delete anything, so we won't. And you don't delete anything. If you click remove all and this time click OK that you do want to delete, what you have to do is you have to put in some matching name and code that the JavaScript is looking for. And if you don't have a match, then you get no changes were made because your name code are not accepted. Well, if you do, I didn't mean to hit that save again, but basically it's going through the process of saving and loading again with the red and blue colors. But if you do the correct name code that it's looking for, which I'll do now, it will in fact delete the code for you. So it's deleted it, and in 2 seconds it'll refresh the page, and the blue coloration of these placeholders will go to gray, and you can kind of see a flickering, and the MP4 video starts all over again at the beginning. Another piece of JavaScript gives us the current date and time, and it is using a set time to reload, or rather execute that function over and over again every second so that you can see the seconds as they occur. Alright, I don't think I forgot anything. So let's look at the code real quick. The first thing I'll go over is the CSS style sheet. And to try to make this the shortest video possible, I'm just going to highlight it and then move on to the next. That was the body. Here's the field set. Here are the styles for the legend, and if you want to copy this and make it your own, you just have to hit pause on the video. Here is for the container, ID of container, top bar, form, input class texty, ID buttons, ID links, the ID save button and remove button, ID MSG for message, it's for the date and time here in the middle. And then to have your video fixed and fitting nicely regardless of browser and device size, we have quite a few classes for full screen -bg. This is for class full screen -bg. Then you've got class full screen -bg _video. After that, we have some @media min aspect ratio 16:9, which has a class within itself, and that class is class full screen -bg _video, and there's the styles for that. All right, then we have an @media max aspect ratio, which has a class inside of that as well, the same one, dot full screen -bg _video, and there are some styles there for that. So you have your minimum aspect ratio, maximum aspect ratio for 16:9 using the class full screen -bg _video. All right, then if we move down a little, we have an @media max width 767 pixels. We have two classes in there. We've got your class full screen -bg, and inside of that we have background set to URL box / tennis 2017.jpg center / cover no repeat. So that's for that one. And then you also have the class full screen -bg _video, and that just has display set to none. So you've got two classes inside of your @media max with 767 pixels that you're dealing with there. A little further down we have A class limey, and that's giving our anchors here the color of lime in the form of an RGBA value, which is our red, green, blue, alpha. And the alpha channel can be anywhere from 0 to 1. 0 would make it completely transparent, and 1 makes it completely opaque. So you can't see through it at all. 0.5 would make it somewhere in the middle of being completely transparent and opaque. Next, we have our input, the type being a checkbox, because we have different inputs here. This is an input, but it's a checkbox type of input, and these are inputs, but it's a text type of input. So for the type equals checkbox, we want to double size those checkbox, and we do it this way. And we have 4 different statements. They all do the same thing. This one is for Internet Explorer, MS Transform Scale 2. For Firefox, Moz Transform Scale 2. For Safari and Chrome, WebKit Transform Scale 2. And then for Opera, O Transform Scale 2. And then they also get a padding and a margin setting as well. Alright, so that was for styling our checkboxes. Then, to style our checkbox label, input type equals checkbox plus label, we have a padding left and a padding right for that. And the very last thing that we've got is class strike through :checked plus label. So what this means is we have class strike through. When this checkbox is checked, it's going to do something to the label. And the styles are a text decoration of line through and a background color of lime. And you can change those to your heart desires as well. All right, that's everything that we've got for our external style.css. So let's check out the web page code, our HTML code. So right here it is, checkbox state.html. I'll try to make this just as quick. All right, opening HTML tag, opening head tag, opening and closing title tags with the text checkboxes with local storage. As you can see right here, checkboxes with local storage, followed by the link that points to that little image icon that you can see next to it, that little pink square with a black outline. Here's the link for that. Then there's the ending head tag, so let's close up the head tag. That's all you need there. The opening body tag runs 2 different functions. Body on load is set equal to load function, and we'll go over that JavaScript last, and the date time function, another JavaScript that we'll go over last. All right, after that we have a div with a class set to full screen -bg, and in between line 10 and 16 we've got our video. So there's our opening and closing video tags. The opening video tag has the words loop, muted, autoplay, and poster equals box / tennis 2017.jpg, class equals full screen -bg _video. In between the video tags, we have 3 source tags. Now I'm only using an MP4, but some people will go as far as using 3 different video data types: the WebM, the MP4, and the OGV. My MP4 is working just fine for all of the browsers that I tested, so basically this piece of code and this piece of code is kind of not really even being used, but I have it here just in case in the future I want to remember what video formats I could also use as well if I have any issues. So source src equals box / summer 2017 tennis.mp4, type equals video / mp4. And that's all you have to do to get your video rolling in the back of your web page. As long as you also remember to use the CSS styles that I gave you. All right, after the video is created, we want to create this container. You see the show form and hide form. All right, well, the form is inside of the container, and as you can see, we've got lines here that we can scroll further down, and that's the length of our whole form. The container holds it, and it's set to predefined pixels so that it will hold it. After the container, we have a div with the ID of top bar, and that's giving us this section up here that gives us the part that holds the 2 links here to show form and hide form, and the little section here in the middle with the ID of MSG that gives us the date and the time, and then this little section over here to the right that holds the save button and the remove all button. So that whole thing is called ID equals top bar. Div ID equals links. This is the part over here to the left. And it has 2 links. Here's the first link. A class equals limey. href equals javascript : void 0. On click equals document type element by ID parentheses form style display equals block, and return false. And in between the opening and closing anchor tags, we have the words show form, as you can see right here. After that, we have 2 spaces, so we can give ourselves a little 2 spaces in between the first link and the second, and we do that with and NBSP, which means and new blank space, and we do it twice because we want 2 blank spaces before we go to the next link, which is right here. A class equals limey, href equals javascript : void 0. On click equals document get element by ID parentheses form style display equals none, return false, and the words on that link hide form, and div. So that's all you get for this little section right here. The next section, div ID equals message, it says hi. We don't see hi anywhere because our JavaScript is running just fine. But if your user had JavaScript disabled, all you would see here instead of the date and the time would be the word hi. Our JavaScript will utilize this element by using the ID MSG to put in our date and time, and you'll see the JavaScript later. Then we have the div ID equals BTNZ, short for buttons, and that's the section over here to the right, and here are the buttons. Input type equals button, ID equals save button, value equals save, on click equals save. So when you click the save button, you're going to call the save function. That's a JavaScript I'll go over shortly. And then here's the second button right next to it. Input type equals button, ID equals remove button, value equals remove all, on click equals. And let's see, I don't think I actually have the clear function anymore. So let me misspell this clear function. I think this is something I can delete if I'm not mistaken. And let's refresh the page. Let me go ahead and test it by saving it. And let's remove all. Are you sure? And let's give the correct name code match that it will be looking for. And it actually did delete it. And in 2 seconds, this blue will turn gray. So that worked just fine. So I don't believe I need this clear function, but right now I'm just going to misspell it because I do have a secondary function in my box that I may want to use for future reference, and it may be calling that clear function. So right now the clear function has nothing to do with anything right now, so you can ignore that. This disabled equals disabled is also misspelled because I may want to set disabled to disabled. If I do that and refresh, then you can put the information in, the user can put the information in, but they can click this remove button all they want. It will not call any functions because it's been disabled. Sometimes during your testing of a form or a program, you may want to disable some functionality just for testing purposes, and if you have any issues with your code, you can address it that way. But I'm going to misspell it because I do want the ability to use it. All right, so that's the buttons ID. So let's close that up. Close this div. Now you can see that the whole top bar div has been, all the code that's been in the top bar is finished. Now let's check out the form. Form ID equals form, style equals block. So the part that you just see going, appearing and disappearing, that's the code we're going to go over now. Here's the first field set. The legend is January 2019. As I said before, there's the legend to the field set. And in the field set, we have 10 little sections for 10 little bills. So here's the first input. Input name equals GenRent, class equals strike through, value equals GenRent, and type equals checkbox. After that checkbox, we've got a label that belongs to the checkbox. Label 4 equals GenRent, the word rent, and the ending label tag. Whatever you name your checkbox, you also marry it to the label by using 4 equals and then give it the exact same name. Jan Rent here, Jan Rent here. After the checkbox and the label, we have 3 inputs of type text. Now each of these text inputs have to have a unique ID. So I started with ID 1 and went incremented each one up by 1 so that I could use the for loop. And so it works out really nice. So input ID equals 1, type equals text, class equals texty, and placeholder equals amount. Placeholder equals amount is what you see right here for the user to type right over. The next input ID equals 2, type equals text, class equals texty, placeholder equals date. The last one, input ID equals 3, type equals text, class equals texty, placeholder equals balance. And then we give you a little break tag here so that you have a little space in between each of these bill sections. So you can basically take this whole piece right here, copy and paste it to do your next bill. And then you just give it a different name. The class is the same, the type is the same, and the value, you want the name and the value to be the same. And when you do the label, you want 4 to match it as well. But when you get the ID, you stopped with the ID here, so you don't want this to be 1, 2, and 3 again. If you just do a copy and paste, you want to change it to 4, 5, and 6. Everything else looks like the same. Copy and paste that until you have as many bills or as many things that you want to save a note about. This could be an exercise routine, and this may be your pull-ups or your push-ups or your sit-ups or whatever you do that you want to record on your local storage. Okay, and really once you get the field set done, once you get your first field set done, you have your break tag and your closing field set tag, you can just copy that whole thing, the whole field set, give yourself some comment lines here just so you know you could see the sections of code separated by the green lines, and then just copy and paste it and change the names and IDs accordingly to go for February, and then do the same thing for March. Alright, so with that being said and done, let's get all the way down to our script. Now let's talk about our JavaScript. Here is our final field set. That's finishing up the March field set. Ending form tag, ending div tag for the div with the ID container. Okay, so we've actually did a lot of copy and paste for this, which you know, you could make these from pure JavaScript and not have all this repeating code if you wanted to. But here's an opening script tag, and this particular JavaScript set of functions is only going to be pertaining to our local storage. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create some variables, and we're creating them outside of the functions because we want them to be global in scope, and you want any of the functions like function save, function, all the different functions I'm going to go over, you want them all to have the ability to touch these variables. So here's each of the variables. Var I, and we didn't set the I to anything up here. We just created it. Var checkboxes equals, this is a long variable assignment. Var checkboxes equals document.query selector all, and in parentheses and single quotes we have input, and in straight brackets type equals checkbox. Okay, so we're basically going to target all the checkboxes on the page, and we are going to use the variable checkboxes to basically manipulate them. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to call them text boxes. This is where we type information into. Of our text boxes equals document.query selector all parentheses and single quotes input type equals text. Okay, and then finally we have var message, var msg equals an empty string, and that's this part right here. We're just creating a place to hold that information. So let's now look at the save function, which starts right here. That's what happens when you click the save button. And it goes from 285 to 302. Quickly, we are going to first deal with the for loop for the text input. For I equals 1, I less than text box dot length, I plus plus. We are going to loop through every single one of our text boxes, which we're calling these text boxes, the amount, date, and balance. We are going to create a variable called value, and we're going to assign it to document.getElementById parentheses I dot value. Then the next line of code is this one. Here we are going to set whatever we type into those areas by using localStorage.setItem, and in parentheses we have key and double quotes plus I, comma value. So there's your key value pair. We have an if condition. We want to know if there's a value in any of those text boxes. If there is a value, which in here and here there is, then if that's true, we are going to do this. Document.getElementById parentheses I dot style dot color equals red. So when I click save, you see the only thing that turned red were these two things that had a value inside. We didn't turn everything red, just the two things that we manipulated. There's the if condition, and there's the end of the text for loop. Now let's see the for loop that we use to use local storage for these checkboxes. All right, for I equals 0, as long as I is less than checkboxes dot length, I plus plus. And what are we going to do here? Well, we just have a single statement, localStorage.setItem. Here we're setting the value of the state of the checkbox, localStorage.setItem, parentheses checkboxes. This time we're not using parentheses, we're using square brackets. Up here you see we used getElementById, parentheses I dot value. Here we're using checkboxes, local storage, dot set item, parentheses checkboxes, index I dot value, comma, checkboxes, index I dot checked. All right, so there is the for loop for the checkboxes. Now, the for loop for the text boxes checks for a value, and if there's a value, sets it to red. And for the checkboxes, it checks for if it's checked or not. And it will save it into local storage by using localStorage.setItem, localStorage.setItem. Here we're going to refresh the page for the color change. So it's not going to just stay red. It's actually going to, we've already saved the key value pairs. Now we're going to retrieve it from local storage and turn it blue. So here we use this statement. Var timer equals set timeout, parentheses, we're going to call the load function, comma, 2000. So in 2000 milliseconds, which is 2 seconds, we're going to call the load function, and the load function is going to change this to blue. So let's see how that goes. This is the end of our save function. Let's take a look at that load function. Let's close up the save function and look at the load function. The load function is also one of the functions that will fire up as soon as you open the page. So function load for, and this is the loop for the checkboxes, I equals 0, I less than checkboxes dot length, I plus plus. We're going to do this interesting statement. checkboxes index i.checked equals localstorage.getItem parentheses checkboxes index i.value triple equals true in single quotes question mark 2 true colon false semicolon. So that's a pretty neat condensed little statement that does a lot of stuff. That's loading any of the checkboxes that have been checked and saved into the local storage. Now we're going to do the same thing for our text. For I equals 1, I less than text boxes.length, I plus plus. We are going to do this statement, var stored value equals localstorage.getItem, parentheses key in single quotes plus I. And then we're going to check if there's a stored value, then we're going to do these statements. Document.getElementById, parentheses I.value equals stored value. And document.getElementById, parentheses I.style.color equals blue. So here we've loaded whatever we could find in local storage, whether it's a checked checkbox or something that we saved from a text box. And there's the end of the if, the end of the for loop, and the end of the load function. So you see how they go hand in hand. We save it, and then right before the end of the save, in 2 seconds, we call the load function. So it goes straight to the load. And whatever was saved in local storage is we're using localstorage.getItem to pull it out. GetItem for the checkbox is there, and GetItem for the text box value right there, and coloring it blue. Now, finally, remove my stuff. Okay, so let's get rid of the load function. We've already looked at save. We've looked at load. Let's look at the final function, remove my stuff. Function remove my stuff. First of all, var choice equals confirm. Are you sure? Let's try it. Remove all. Are you sure? This is a confirm dialog box. It gives you a confirmation of okay or a lack of confirmation with cancel. If choice equals true, that means you click the OK button. This is the next thing that happens. Var person equals prompt. Now prompt gives you an OK button, a cancel button, and a place to type. Var person equals prompt. Please enter your name, comma name please. So you're going to put in a name. OK. And then it moves on to the second line of code. Var code equals prompt. Please enter your code, comma code please. And we're going to put in the correct code. Okay. Now, it removed it really quickly because I gave it the correct name and code. But what you didn't hear was the code that checked it. And this is the check. If person triple equals Lisa and code triple equals 1234, or person triple equals Freeman and code triple equals Woodson, if either of those were typed, then we do from this line here, from this open curly brace, all the way to this one. Only if that's true. Now, if it's false, they typed something else in, like Frank, and then the code was banana boat, then it's not going to be a match here. So this if condition is false, meaning everything in the curly braces is ignored, and it moves straight on to the next line of code, which would be this else that says everything in these curly braces. Alert, no changes were made because your name code are not accepted. So now if I hit remove all and hit cancel, I'm sorry, take that back. Remove all, are you sure? Okay. And Bob, okay. Banana boat for the code, okay. No changes were made because your name code are not accepted. That's what happens if that if condition fails. It goes down to there. But we want to see what happens if the if condition is true. So are you sure? Let's give it the truth. Lisa, and 1, 2, 3, 4, okay. Now, if this is true, we are going to, I guess we should put some stuff in here to to save first so that you can see the delete. So we'll save it, yada, yada, yada. Blue, when it's blue, we know it's saved because the load function there, it's already saved. We put in the remove all, are you sure? Again. Now, it disappeared. It's blue, and in 2 seconds it'll go gray. For the checkbox input, it does this loop. For I equals 0, I less than checkboxes.length, I plus plus. And then it does this single statement, localStorage.setItem. And in parentheses, checkboxes indexi.value, comma checkboxes indexi.checked equals false. So whatever checkboxes were saved in local storage as checked, this is now changing the checked to false. So it takes checkboxes off, makes it false. Let's do the same thing with text. Whatever values in text, we're going to remove it. So for I equals 1, I less than text boxes dot length, I plus plus, we are going to do two statements. First, document.getElement by ID parentheses I.value equals an empty string, and local storage dot remove item parentheses key in single quotes plus I. So now we've deleted whatever checkboxes were checked, and we've deleted whatever values were in any of the text boxes. And here is the last little piece. We have var timer equals set timeout, and in parentheses we have window.location.reload parentheses true. This is going to refresh the page, and comma 2000 means it's going to do it after 2000 milliseconds, which is 2 seconds. That's when it's going to go from blue, and you're going to see the page reload. The MP4 video is going to start back over in the background. It's going to flash, and the color will go from blue to gray. Now, if you decided to remove blah, 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 save, it's saved. Now when it's blue, then it'll load, and I know that it's in local storage. Remove. Now, you hit cancel. This was if you didn't say yes, then you'd have this else. Alert, no changes were made. Oh no, I take that back. This was the inner if, that if you gave a bad name and code, no changes were made because your name and code are not accepted. And this was if you decided no, you didn't want to make any changes in this. Else, alert, you don't want to delete anything, so we won't. And there's the end of the remove my stuff function. It's kind of confusing until you get into nested if statements and conditions like that. But after a while, you get used to it. It's not that big a deal. The more you do it, like anything else, you get better at it. Okay, so there's the end of the script that has everything to do with local storage. Now let's look at the script for the date and the time. Function date time, and again, this is one of the functions that's called as soon as the page loads. We only have, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little statements for this. Var time equals new date, so you set a variable and you assign it to a new date. Next we have var msgx equals time dot to date string. So you're going to take the information in time and you're going to turn it into a to date string. We're going to use that method on it and put it in the variable msgx. Okay. Then you're going to take the value of msgx and you're going to concatenate to it a break tag, which basically the first thing you did, time dot to date string. First we created a new date object and we put it in a variable called time. I probably should have called it date time because we're actually coming up with two different things here. This right here, time.toDate string, it's not giving us the time. We're just using the name of this variable here. We could call it, toy. Var toy equals new date. Var msgx equals toy.toDate string, and then toy plus equals. So the first part gave us this, the time.toDate string. The .toDate string gave us this. And then we're going to concatenate it by putting a break tag so that we go down a line. We're going to do the bottom part now. Plus time.toLocalString, and then in parentheses we have a lot of things. We have en-us, comma, and then we've got this object thing here in curly braces, hour colon numeric, minute colon numeric, second colon numeric, comma, hour 12 colon true. And make sure you get all of the commas and all of the single quotes and all of the syntax correct for that. Okay, so that is giving us this bottom part, the 8, 22, 14, 16, 17, 18, so on and so forth. Now, we have this document.getElement by ID parentheses and double quotes msg.innerhtml equals msgx. So all of that information that we put in msgx, we want to spit out to the element that has the ID of msg, which is actually giving us the output there. Then finally, what we have to do after this is we have to run the date time function every second. So here we have set timeout in parentheses date time. You're calling the date time function, comma, 1000. So every second we're calling date time over and over and over again so that you can see the seconds go by. 2, 4. For some reason I'm seeing it every 2 seconds instead of every second. I'm kind of curious. That's kind of curious. I'm not sure why it's doing that. I should see every second, not every 2. But anyway, that's the end of the datetime function. I'll look and see what on earth happened to make it show every 2 seconds. It may be a flaw because of the video running in the background. Maybe it's compromising it. I'm not sure. But anyhow, there's the second script. There's the end of the body, the end of the HTML, and this is nothing but a bunch of notes. It's outside of the HTML's closing tag, so it does absolutely nothing. Really, I don't think it does anything. Maybe it's causing my problem. Maybe I could just take it out. But I don't believe that should have anything to do with anything. So 3, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, that's strange. It changed from every second to every 2 seconds. I don't know what to say about that, but I'm not going to worry about it. All right, and basically that's how you do this. So take the code, copy it, use it for whatever you want to use it, manipulate it, see if you can make the code shorter by optimizing the code using more loops. Maybe you can create all of these elements using JavaScript for loops instead of creating them manually like I did, and have a good time.